All right, I think we should be live shortly. Hello out there. Hopefully we're doing well. All right, let's see if YouTube is working. Coming along momentarily, hopefully. All right, YouTube. We're a little bit earlier than usual, so we'll see how this goes. All right, I think we're working. I am Drew Badger, the founder of EnglishAnyone.com and the English Fluency Guide. Welcome to another live video here on YouTube. We're going to talk about practice today, and I thought this would be a good thing to cover because a lot of people ask how they can do this. And a lot of people also think that they need to do things that they actually don't need to do, like spending a lot of time speaking with other people, which is a little bit weird for language learners, but I'm going to talk to you about how you can actually do a lot of your practice just by yourself. So that will be the theme of today's video. And I expect this one might not be very long unless people have lots of questions for me. I wanted to keep this one a little bit shorter, nice and concise. That's a good word for you, concise. But hopefully people are enjoying the video. Looks like we do have a few people there. Nice to see that. It's the Burjesh. Hello. Annette, it over there. Nice to see everybody. All right, we're going to get right into it. So I wanted to start today's video talking about a comment, actually two comments. One was from a member, another was from a YouTube video, and both of them were talking about how at first they didn't quite understand something, but then finally they understood it and they felt really good about that. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about in this video, where how people can actually understand things better, and that's what's really going to help you get fluent. So specifically, I want to talk about the second comment. I think it was on a video I made about what video was that? I think it was my video about have. And explaining how it worked. And so this person commenting, I'm sorry I forget the name, but it was nice to see the comment. So they had learned this grammar point talking about have. I think maybe it was the present perfect, some tense like that. But they said how they had studied it or tried to learn it. You know, they had spent 20 years trying to. So they start learning English. You know, let's say this span here has been 20 years. And so they've learned something, but finally they understand it and now they can use it. So that was the basic idea. So I want to show people that partly you can actually make this process much faster, but the more important part is that you can do this by yourself. So I didn't have a conversation with anyone, nobody was speaking to me, it was simply understanding the language better. And so both of these people, again, one was a member, the other was just a comment on YouTube, but it's demonstrating the same principle. So I want to talk about how practice actually works, what you're doing when you practice the language, and then how you can do this by yourself. I'll give you some examples, and if there's some other things I can help people with on this video, you can let me know. All right, so the basic idea, and this is probably, it's one of the most important things anyway, I'll explain, or that people should understand about English. Often people ask me, I don't want to write the whole question because my writing is not so, it's not so clear, but also it takes more time. But the basic question is, how can I understand you, or how can I understand a lot of English but still not speak? So let me answer that question very simply for people right at the beginning of this video. I've explained this in a few different ways, but I think this might be helpful just to see it visually for people here. Let's imagine here we have a kind of line here about how well you know some information. And usually what happens when you're learning a language, you begin with zero understanding of that language. You don't understand it at all. And the goal is to get to really 100%. And this doesn't mean like knowing 100% of the language. It just means how well you know that vocabulary. So for each word or phrase or grammar point, this little triangle is basically in your head in some way. So if you start learning something, at first you might hear it in a sentence. So let's say your understanding. So this is basically how well you understand some vocabulary. So maybe you hear it at first, you get maybe like up to this level here. But what's happening here is your understanding is increasing, hopefully moving from 0% to 100%. And the white space over here, we'll just call this doubt. So there's something left that you don't understand, that maybe you're unsure about. It could be grammar or the pronunciation, how to use a word exactly. So you might understand something a little bit. You can hear native speakers talking about it. Maybe you hear it a few more times. You can feel pretty good. You understand something quite well. So I want this really to make the idea clear that people, you don't just understand the language or not. It's really a matter of degree of understanding. And if you have a little bit of understanding of something, but you still have doubt, then that's what's going to stop you from speaking. Okay? So this explains why you can know information. So people often, they say, Drew, why do I know information but I can't speak? Typically, you still have some kind of doubt or uncertainty that stops you from expressing yourself. Okay, this is the basic idea. So as soon as you get to 100%, and this process doesn't need to take a long time, but the idea is that you really need to remove whatever doubt is stopping you from speaking. All right. So remember, it's easy to understand, like you can understand what I'm saying right now, but when you're maybe trying to think about how to express it yourself, you have a doubt about something, and that's what stops you from speaking. Okay. Hopefully, so this is a very core idea to understanding language learning in general. And this is typically because people don't like making mistakes in front of others. Okay. Public speaking it's like the #1 fear for, I don't know, for many people or most people. I don't know the exact numbers. But if you look at the top things that people are scared of, public speaking is one of those. And obviously this is talking about me speaking in front of a group of people. Like if I'm too scared, I can't do a YouTube video, something like that. But even just talking one-on-one with someone, if you're nervous about making mistakes, you can still understand what they say, but you might have doubts because for some reason, whatever that is, so you're uncertain about something. So these comments that I got from one member and just another YouTube comment was basically saying how they understood something a little bit before, and then finally they were able to fill in this whole thing because they eliminated doubt. All right. And so at the moment, right when this happens, boom, you know it, you feel confident, and that's when you start speaking. Okay, so you can try to start speaking here, and this is usually where people make mistakes. So you say something, I said that wrong, or you remember later, oh, why did I say that in that conversation? This has happened to me, it happens to lots of people, it's very common, all right? But as you feel more confident by removing doubt, this is when you actually start speaking. Okay, so the idea of practicing something is not really to repeat things that you already know, because when you repeat things, it's keeping you at the same level. So if I understand, like I just know, maybe I remember the present perfect, and I know, okay, it's this word and then that word, and I have like a grammar formula or a sentence formula, a structure in my mind, but I don't really understand what I mean or what I'm talking about, so I can't really use it fluently. So there's still a doubt there. I understand when other people use it, but I still have doubt, and that's why I can't speak. Okay? So in order to practice, the goal of practice is to increase this until you feel confident enough to speak. All right, and this could be very quick or it could be very slow. So in the two examples, like one example was like the member, so they had watched like some of our videos and then watched some more on YouTube, and something clicked in their head, like, like now I got it. Okay, that aha feeling where you actually understand something. So if you do that quickly, you can do that in a minute or 5 minutes. It just depends on examples. So I'll give you some of those examples in this video in just a moment, but this is the basic idea. So when we think about practicing something, practice actually means that we feel more confident about using something because we understand it better. So you don't need to spend time speaking in order to do that. You just need to understand the language better. Okay, I'll give you some moments, in just a moment. I'll talk more about this with some examples. And if you have any questions about things after I do those, we can cover those as well. I'll just go through the chat right quick. Nice to see everybody out there. Let's see if anybody has any questions so far. Vincente from Sao Paulo. Dr. Miriam, nice to see you there. Knight, you put it like you are not English native speaker. It's like if you're talking about the title of the video, the basic idea is in the same way that I would practice my English, it's the same way anyone would practice their English. Also, people might be, this is a kind of a funny thing when you make videos about things, like people will be searching for how do I practice my English? So I type, how do I practice my English? So often I would just say you, like how do you practice your English? But in this case, I'm actually doing the same thing as I learn new English. So I don't know the whole language. There are lots of words and phrases and topics, whole sections of the language that I don't know. But because I'm able to learn more, I understand this idea that if I want to speak about something confidently, then I need to really understand that thing. Okay, so not just understand it a little bit, not understand it where I can just kind of understand, I recognize information, but I still have doubt. Okay, hopefully everybody understands this. This is why you can understand but not speak. Okay, there are different levels of understanding, and it's easier to recognize information than to use information yourself, because then you have to make sure you say it correctly. You have to know that information very well, and that's why it's always easier to understand. Most people have a higher listening level than a speaking level for this reason. I've talked about this in the past. I can just add very quickly about this. I've talked about like the 3 levels of understanding, and you can see that it's a gradient, like a gradation. So it's not just like this or that, like a binary. So basically this level over here, this is exposure. So when you're just getting exposed to the language over here, so maybe you hear something or it's not very clear, but you can kind of hear and understand something. You don't really feel very confident about it yet. Let me make this clearer. E-X-P-O-S-U-R-E, exposure to the language. So you're getting exposure to the language over here, around this area here in the middle. This is where you develop awareness. To be aware of the language means you can recognize it and understand when you learn. Okay, so when you hear people, okay, I understand what Drew's saying right now, even if I can't say it exactly like he can, it's okay, but you have awareness, you recognize information, okay? But you might still have some doubt, and so what you have to do to get to the highest level, and the highest level is just where you can speak fluently, and all this is where you get to the ownership, what I call the ownership level, where you own the language. You can control it, all right? At this point, you can't really control the language. That's why you're just listening to what other people say, and you can understand them, but you just have doubt about something. So if you eliminate the doubt, you move up here to the ownership level. Okay, so let me continue checking chat, and then we will go over some examples. These are actually just some interesting examples I thought I would talk about that are just recently from my life. Because I often, you know, when I'm not teaching you guys, I'm teaching, like doing some translation stuff for people or helping my own kids learn the language. So I have to do the same kind of things for them. All right, let's see. Davidson, hello from Brazil. Fear, let's see, nice to see you there. Osama, hello, teacher from Morocco. Sergio, good night. Let's see. Hack Wizards Army, hello. Did I join long time? Please tell whose scheduled day. Oh my goodness, I don't know what that means. What are you talking about? Andres says, hello, Drew. Hi, Drew. Where can I find your Fluent for Life program's landing page? Will there be special offers soon? If you'd like to learn more about Fluent for Life, and for new people, Fluent for Life is a program that actually gets you here. We help you own the language by removing doubt. It's really that simple. But you can click on the link in the description below this video to learn more. Pablo says, hi, teacher. Brazil here. Daniel says, hi, teacher. Do you think students should learn many idioms, or is it okay just to learn the most useful in daily life? I would think about what you need for your life specifically. I focus on phrasal verbs because those are much more commonly used and much more useful. Idioms are fine to learn, but it's not necessary for you to speak. Although it is nice if you can understand when people are talking. Let's see. Where was I? Oh no, I think I'm like. How far did I get here? Oh, okay, all right. Dark Cardinal says, hello, open subtitles. Yeah, subtitles are created automatically by Google after the video is finished. So if you are watching this live, it will not have subtitles. But if you are watching it later, then the subtitles will be ready. But it's not preparing subtitles immediately. All right. So Dark Cardinal says, learn English in order to learn English, buddy, with a little winky face. Very tricky over there. Yes. I know this is an odd thing for many people where they say like, well, you have to understand English in order to understand the lessons. Like, yes, that's kind of the point here. What I do on this channel is helping people who understand a lot of English, but still have doubts that stop them from speaking. Okay, so yes, like I'm not trying to teach you English in Japanese or Chinese or some other language because I want to make sure people understand. Well, hello, Tom Hanks. Yes, I've got lots of people who think I look kind of like Tom Hanks. I think maybe from like the Forrest Gump era or something, I guess. Saeed says, hello from the cursed and most miserable country in the whole world, Iran. Oh no, you guys stay safe over there. And Bahati says, hello. Amanda, one thing that helps a lot is to record yourself speaking about random things and listening to it. Yes, that can help. This is much more helpful because it's much faster, where you simply understand the language better. You answer whatever questions you have that stop you from speaking. That's it. So you don't need to record yourself. You don't need to speak with anybody else. You just need more information that helps you understand something. And typically, if you're trying to understand something and you don't know why it's happening, then you need to get some like more information or figure something out from a different angle. I'll tell you a very quick story about this. I shared, when was that? On some video a while back. I was sitting at a coffee shop and there was a guy next to me. So I was just at a Japanese coffee shop, and so I'm sitting on one chair and he's sitting right next to me, and I notice he has a tablet. I'm sitting reading a book and he's looking at a video on a tablet. And I notice every few seconds he moves his hand like this in front of the tablet. And so I'm looking at the video or looking at my book, but then I'm noticing him and I think, oh wow, he must have some kind of cool motion control thing for his tablet. So he's moving his fingers. He's not touching the tablet. He's moving his fingers kind of in front of the tablet like that. And so I'm very curious to know what he's doing. I don't ask him. I don't want to, he's watching, he's got headphones on or whatever. I don't want to disturb him. But I'm very curious about that because I have a tablet and it would be nice to not have to touch it. I just move my hands in the gesture controls or whatever. So I'm watching that and I think that's what's happening. But maybe a few minutes later, I notice that there's a little fly buzzing around his computer or buzzing around the tablet, and that's why he's doing that. So it has nothing to do with the screen. He's not controlling the screen or anything. He's just trying to get a fly to go away from the screen. So this is an example of like, I see somebody doing something and I wonder what's happening there. So I've got some kind of doubt, like why is he doing that? What's happening? Is he able to use motion control or is there something else? But as I get full information, okay, finally I know 100%, it's a fly, and that's what's causing the problem. And so here, like this is a perfect example of how people are learning languages and like they hear something and they don't quite understand it. They understand a little bit about what's happening, but when you remove all the doubt, that's where you feel like, now I got it, now I can speak. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. I think I'm looking at the chat, people are getting it. But this is an example of the same kind of thing where we need to get more information to help us understand something. So usually what people do instead of getting more information is they will have a word and then they will just repeat that word again and again. Okay, so whether that's reading it again in a book, or you're repeating yourself, or you have a flashcard, or you record yourself speaking or whatever, all of those things are basically repetition that keep you here. Okay, so the only way to move up here is to give yourself new information. Okay, it's pretty simple. So instead of repeating something, this is why repeating is not really good practice. It's just, maybe it's helpful just a little bit for how you would move your mouth or something. But the basic idea is that you want to take, you're learning a new word. Instead of repeating it, you want to get different angles on that thing, different stories, hear different people talking about it, get more information that helps you understand what's happening. Because when you understand, you eliminate the doubt, you get to that 100% understanding, that's when you speak. Okay? So in this, this fly story, the whole process took, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes, okay? Now, if I saw the fly, like right at the beginning, I would know like instantly what's happening here. So what I'm trying to do when I teach is make this as short as possible, all right? So you don't get fluent just by repeating things again and again. The whole point is to understand something completely and to make this process as fast as possible. Is everybody getting it? I think people understand me. All right, let me go through chat. We're getting more people. Nice to see everybody here. All right. Let's see here. Let's see. All right, Ernesto says, hello from Cuba. Kirby says, hello, good evening, teacher. Ingrid, hello from Guatemala. From Haiti, I have a question. Remember, you don't need to tell me you have a question. Just post the question. Very easy. Wellington says, I'm a professor from Sao Paulo. Johnny, nice to see you there. All right, I am not a native speaker. Then there are lots of people use different sounds. Let me know what you mean exactly. Are you talking about pronunciation or different accents or different words or whatever? Norman says, hello from Egypt. How can I stop thinking in Arabic? You stop thinking in Arabic when you start thinking in English. All right. And that's why I do all my videos in English. So I don't focus on helping Japanese learners learn English through Japanese. That would be a waste of time. Even if it's popular for people, it would not really help them speak. What I do is actually help you understand English in English. That's the whole point. So when you can understand English in English and you remove the doubt, you don't need to translate anymore. So you stop thinking in your native language. You start thinking in English because you understand the language very well. Okay, let's see. And Noradine says, how to be confident? This answers that same question. So if you don't understand something, that's where you lack confidence. But when you understand something well, you have confidence. Okay, so the doubt and the confidence and the fluency, it all comes from you understanding the examples or whatever word you're learning, not from you just repeating things or trying to understand it through translations, that kind of thing. All right, let's see. All right, first time here, Armando, nice to see you there. Drew, finally can follow your live stream. Yeah, I started a little bit earlier today. All right, and Shauka says, how to eliminate the doubt. You eliminate the doubt by getting really what I call fluency triggers. And the basic idea is just more angles on something that help you understand something in a different way. I'll give you some examples in just a moment. I'm just going through chat to make sure people don't have any questions I'm missing over here. All right. Oh, no, I'm skipping around here. YouTube, stop doing that. It keeps moving the chat. I have to keep my finger on the phone to stop it from moving. All right. Where did I go? Okay. So Dark Cardinal says, think in English. What is the problem? People think in slang. Imagine the language is slang. Well, it's the only thing you have to do is just understand the language better. And by the language, I mean the word or grammar point or whatever that you're trying to understand. So if you can understand what you're talking about, then you will feel confident about it. It doesn't matter if it's slang or whatever. Let's see. Dan says, Drew, you're the one that helped me the most with English. Glad to hear it. If you know other people I can help, then please send them my way. Matrix says, I'm from Indonesia. Jane, I can understand your speaking, but my struggle is to speak it myself. I found it hard to express myself. Yes, so hopefully you understand why this happens. You can understand, but you don't have enough understanding. You're still having some kind of doubt, and that's what stops you from speaking. That's the problem, okay? All right, let's see. Kabim, hello from Brazil. Hack, which days do you teach? Often I'm here, usually Mondays and Thursdays, Japan time, around this time. Listening to you talking teaches me how to say certain sentences. Yes, Eunice, that's the idea. All right, Dan, I found you in 2017, and my English just improved so much after finding your channel. Fantastic. Again, if you know other people we can help, then please send them our way. So it's easy to explain why that is. It's just I eliminate the doubt that people have. So I try to make the language very understandable so you can understand it like a native English speaker, and that's when you speak. All right, hello, it's people from Brazil here. Yes, that's true. From India, see people from Colombia. I'm going to try to go through these. Looks like people enjoyed that story. All right, hello, and people, let's see, how long did it take you to learn Japanese? Well, I'm still learning it now, but the difference was I used to learn Japanese by studying it as a second language through English. And once I started to understand Japanese like this, once I understood this principle that I need to understand English, or excuse me, Japanese like a Japanese speaker, then I got fluent much faster. And so again, the point is to eliminate any doubt you have and to do that as quickly as possible. That's how you can get quickly fluent very quickly without spending a lot of time studying rules and things like that. So the point is to understand the grammar, but not necessarily to study it, if that makes sense. Okay, look at, I think I got like a bunch of comments over here. All right. Oh no, there are too many too many comments now. All right, we got to be quick going through this. All right. Joe says, according to other YouTubers that were also teaching English fluency, that it's essential to know cultures in order to get fluent, like, for example, American, Australian, and British cultures. Yes, but you learn that automatically when you learn like a native. So it's not like a separate, you don't like study culture as a separate thing. You study the language as you study the culture. You study the culture as you study the language. It's one thing. So when you're learning with me, if you listen to me right now, you're getting a little culture, you're getting a little vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, all of these things are mixed together. So the same way I would like teach my kids. So when natives are learning, that's how they're doing it. So you should be doing more learning English the same way a native does. Tell me about your native language. I don't know if you're talking to me or not. My native language is English. Wellington, at the beginning, I thought the professor is so slow today. After I varied the video speed, it was 1175. I put on time now. Waze says, greetings from China. Sergio Leon says, hablas español. I know a little bit of Spanish, but not much. I can understand some, but I don't have enough confidence to speak because I still have lots of doubt about how the language works. All right, I'm going to go through these quickly. Summer, good morning. I was taught when I was at university to learn a lot of texts. Then quantitative knowledge becomes qualitative and you start talking. Could you please say a phrase for me that this is a compound? Okay. Yes. I mean, the simple way to explain language learning is just remove the doubt. That's it. You know, I mean, that's the core idea, because if you have doubt, you won't speak. It's that simple. All right. Let's see. As an Indian, how can I learn English without forgetting it? Well, the same way you would learn any language, or the same way anyone else would learn English, by eliminating the doubt. So I'll get to exactly how that works in just a moment. I'm just going through the chat. What is the best way to advertise the Ferrari sweater? I see. Let me hide this user on channel. All right. Let me see here. Yes, don't spam the channel. Let's see. My mother tongue is a Creole in French. Yes, you would say my mother tongue, not my mother's tongue, as in you're talking about your actual mother's tongue rather than just your mother's tongue. That's interesting. Oh, okay, you guys are speaking to each other, I think. Well, Kirby, let's see. Remember, if you remember, I'm going through lots of chat to answer people's questions. So if I get people complaining that I'm not answering fast enough, they're going to get kicked out of the chat. Pablo says, teacher, I need to make progress. For teacher, what do I need to do? I have lots of focus for speaking or listening. Just understanding the language better. All right, I'm going to go see if there's anything else. Pardon me if I don't answer every question, but I'm just trying to go through and make sure I get through anybody else that doesn't have. All right, people like my accent, people complaining about math. All right, gotcha. All right, so let me go through a few examples of these are just things in my daily life, and these are some examples recently, like helping my own children understand English. So first example is my daughter, my older daughter, Aria. I was sitting on this, we'll just imagine like this is like a little sofa here, a little couch. So I'm sitting here, and there was some other stuff on the sofa, and Aria wanted to sit down too. And she said, could you make a room? Could you make a room? Could you make a room? So I'm sitting here, I'm taking this area, and there's, I don't know, something else, some laundry or some stuff on the sofa as well. So she said to me, could you make a room? Could you make a room? And I said, oh, you want me to make, like, here's our room over here. Like, we're going to make a room. Here's a little table and a light and a chair and other things like that. You mean that? Like, to make a room? Make a room? And I understood what she meant, but this is me giving her, like, a little moment of understanding there, like, oh, make a room. To make a room means like this. Like you're asking me to physically make a room, when what you mean is, could you make room? All right, so she wants me to move some of this so she can sit down. All right, and so here I'm trying to help her compare something rather than try to explain her rules about, well, we have like a versus the or whatever, just giving her the difference. If you say, could you make a room, you're talking about like making a physical room, like I'm making a dollhouse or something like that. But to make room just means to give yourself some space. All right, so if you're asking someone, like, could you please make some space or something like that, like you could say the same thing, could you please make space? Could you please make space? Now this one is a little bit tricky if we use the word space instead of room, because space is just, it's kind of a general area, but we can also talk about making a space, all right? Or we could say some space. All right, so it's the same idea. We don't, but this is because a room is actually like a thing you could make. Like people have an idea of a physical room, but space is not. Like you don't have, like, space doesn't mean a particular box or a size or something. It's just kind of a general thing, space. So that's why we can say, could you make room? Or we could say, could you make a space? Okay, so we can talk about this kind of general area. Oh, here, let me make some space for you. Let me make room for you. Okay? So this is one example. Like the point of this is not to just tell someone the rules. The point is to help them understand, and often I'm doing this by comparing different things. All right? So again, what I'm trying to do with my daughters or with you when I'm teaching is to help remove doubt, to help you understand the language better, because when you understand, when you think, ah, now I got it, then you can speak. So now you can say, oh, like, could you make room? And you understand, oh, it's a little bit funny if I say, could you make a room? Oh, you want me to make a room? You want me to, like, build a room for you? No, no, no. You want me to just make some space, make some room for you. All right, very simple example. But hopefully this is just one simple example of, like, I don't want to just, like, take this word and repeat it. If I just say, okay, repeat after me. Could you make room? Could you make room? Could you make room? I want people to understand why something works. When you understand why, then you remove the doubt, okay? So this is what I call a fluency trigger. So I'm taking two different ideas, I'm contrasting them and helping you understand. Okay? Hopefully this makes sense. If you still have questions about this idea, and yes, you might still need a few more examples, but hopefully you get the basic idea of what's happening here. If I say make a room, I'm talking about this. But if I just say make room, I'm talking about general space for this example. And the reason we can say, could you make a space, or could you make space, or could you make some space? You can also say some room as well. Could you make some room? Because then we're still talking about some area. So it's not like a particular thing, it's just some area. Okay. So this is one example. I will share some more. Let me check chat, make sure people are following. They're picking up what I'm putting down. Let's see. Summer says, sorry, Drew, I have difficulties with pronouncing the word compound. Well, again, like a word like that by itself depends on the meaning. So you could have compound, like compound, like a physical space, like a compound, like a building or a bunch of buildings. That's a compound. But you could have like compounding, like a problem is compounding, getting worse. So the pronunciation of words, I had this same example with my older daughter, Aria. Also, I was talking about the word read, okay? I said, look at this word, read, R-E-A-D, read. Now, what's interesting is we can also have this mean read. It's the same word, the same spelling, but the pronunciation changes depending on what we're talking about. Okay, so we have like I read a book yesterday, or now I am reading the book. Okay, so as you get more examples that help you understand the language better, this is the practice that gets you fluent. So notice right now, if you're understanding what I'm saying, if you're feeling more confident about something like this is just one example, but the idea here is that we're talking about, like, do you understand? Or do you feel more confident? Did you remove more doubt about it? And sometimes you might need more examples, and that's okay. But you understand the goal is to remove the doubt, not to speak. You don't become fluent by repeating something again and again. You become fluent by understanding it better. That's what gives you the confidence to speak, because you'll use it correctly. If you don't think you'll use it correctly, you won't say it. All right? I think people are getting the idea, though. All right. Also, if you'd like to learn more vocabulary and you'd like to hear me pronounce words, you want to learn how to pronounce them like I do, get Frederick. You can click on the link in the description below this video to learn more about that. But that will let you hear me anytime you like pronounce over 2,000 words and sentences. So if you'd like to sound like me, that's how you can do it. Kirby again, thank you, teacher, for correcting my mistake. Mother tongues are Creole and French. Excellent. Very nice. All right, Graz says, is there any other way to make some space? Yes. If you're talking about ways of expressing that, sure. But I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about this one example, but this is one way to talk about doing that. I think someone mentioned like move over or scoot. Scoot over, excuse me, move over or scoot over. So this is a little bit different. It's asking for someone to create some space here, but you could tell someone, hey, could you move over or could you scoot over? So scoot is like you're just kind of moving a little bit. You're not getting up and moving. You're kind of sliding a little bit like that, to scoot over or to move over. So there are different ways to express this same thing, and that's another thing you learn as you just focus on one situation and you understand when to use vocabulary. This is how you get fluent. In this situation, there are different ways of expressing this. So I could say, hey, could you please, so if I want to be polite, could you please make some room? Could you please make room? Could you make some space? Could you make a space? Could you move over? Could you scoot over? Or you can just say, may I sit down? And often people will, maybe they will move their stuff or something like that. Or another way of expressing this is, do you mind? So do you mind if I sit down? Like, do you care? Is it a problem for you? Do you mind if I sit down? Or do you mind if I sit here? So we have one situation. The grammar that I was just trying to focus on with my daughter is the difference between make room and make some room. So we have a book called Room on the Broom. So another book that's talking about that. So here's a broom here. And then we have like a witch on the broom. And so she's sitting up there, and then the story is about these other animals that also get on the room, or on the broom, excuse me. So there is space available on the broom. So the book is about, do you have room? Like, do you have space? We don't say a room, we say, do you have room? Okay, so we're just talking about, is there some kind of space available where I could sit? And so at the end of the book, there's a frog and a dog and a bird and a cat also sitting down on that broom. Okay? But the point is, the more examples you get, the better you understand that thing. And it's not about repeating something. It's just how you understand something. Can you understand it well or not? Let's see. Mundo says, interesting. All right, Dark Crystal again. Set yourself up to think in another language. To do this, increase your vocabulary. Listen to a lot of speeches and language in which you are tuned. Yes, like this is kind of general advice about language learning, but this is the only advice you need. Eliminate the doubt. That's it. If I could just make that very simple, like yes, it's nice to listen to speeches or other things like that, but it's just kind of general, vague advice. It doesn't really get to the heart of the problem, which is I still am not sure about what I'm saying. That's it. If you are sure about what you want to say, then you will speak. That's how you speak. That's it. All right. So yes, it's helpful to do those things, but less helpful than just eliminating the doubt. All right, teacher, the godmother of my child is who for me? It's just the godmother of your child. There's no like relationship there, or at least like maybe you could call that, but like it's just the god, like a godparent of your child. That's it. Judo says, "What's up, teacher? I love your lessons. I'm from Brazil. Glad to hear it. I like to help myself by the IPA when I read the dictionary to understand the pronunciation of some words." Yes, you can do that. Again, we can help with pronunciation in Frederick. All right, Habiba says, the most beautiful teacher. Well, I don't know if I've been called beautiful before, but there we go. Let's see. I can use make room to make someone feel comfortable or just make some space. Yes, you're not trying, you don't like make them feel like emotionally comfortable. I mean, I guess you're being friendly, but the idea of making room just means making physical space. But you can see how we can take this idea and extend it or apply it in a figurative way. So let's say I'm a single guy. Like right now, I'm busy. I don't have any room in my life for a girlfriend, as an example. All right. So this is a physical example. Like there's no physical space on the couch. Okay. So maybe instead of me sitting here, I could be lying down on the couch. So here's me. I've got my arms up and my legs just relaxing across the whole couch, and I have no room. So I am taking up all of the space or taking up all of the room on the sofa or on the couch. All right. So the same thing in my life. All right. So in my life, I'm very busy. I don't have time to meet women or something. I can't really, so I don't have room in my life for that. All right. So we take a physical idea like this and apply it in a more figurative way. All right. So we can talk about making room on a sofa or making room in your life. All right. I think people get it though. So this is how native speakers learn the language. They understand a simple idea like this and then begin to apply it in other situations. So it's a similar idea. I'm making room in my life, or I'm making room just on a sofa, something like that. All right. Yes, a lot of people from Brazil in the chat. Why, when I speak English, I usually think about words first and then understand later? I don't quite understand your question. Ninghia, let's see. When I speak English, I usually think about the words first and understand later. Yeah, I can't answer that really because I don't understand exactly what you're talking about. Give me a specific situation. All right, Mike says, clear as water. Glad to hear it. All right, let's see here. And Mahale said, what's the fastest way to replace what I want to say in English? The fastest way to replace what you want to say in English. What do you mean, Mahi? Like you want to say something else? Well, the best way to do it is you learn a situation and hear how different natives are talking about that. Room for cream. It says John and Summer, thank you. Articles are hard to know when to use and when not. It is like hair and a hair. Please give more examples. Yes, I don't want to spend too much time on articles here, but as an example, if it's something you can't count, like right now, like you can't count how many hairs I have. All right, I still have enough hair that you can't count it. But you know, maybe when I get even older, I'll have just like 1 or 2 hairs that you can count. All right. So typically articles are used when we have something we can count or something we cannot count. So here, the same way we talk about hair, like I can have a room. So this is a room. It's a physical thing. There's just one of them. But here, we can't really count the space. Like we could say I have like 3 feet of room or something, but this is uncountable and this is countable. So even though it's the same word, it's a different idea. All right? So the same thing with hair. Right now I have a lot of hair on my head. But I can also say I have a lot of hairs if I'm talking about them individually, like I have all of these right here. Okay? If I'm explaining this and you feel like, I understand it more, you are becoming more fluent. Isn't that cool? So you're not saying anything to me. I don't hear anyone speaking, but you can still become more fluent simply by understanding the language better. All right, let's get through this quickly over here. All right, Solar 2014 says, recently I tried to practice. Oh no, I got to sneeze again. Ah, it's going away. Recently, I tried to practice speaking, so you would say speaking with my husband who can speak fluently, but is not a native speaker. He got 8.5 in IELTS. However, he found when he practiced with me that it affected his speaking as well. I don't quite understand what you mean by that. I will say for people that want to speak, it's fine. Like having a conversation with someone is a great way to improve if you feel confident and you can be in that situation. But most of the improvement comes from what the other person says to you, especially if they are a better speaker. Okay, so you're actually learning things from the other people you speak with, because what you do, you're not really learning anything more by speaking yourself. So just like I'm speaking like to myself, if I'm standing in a room by myself, I don't understand the language better by repeating or speaking to myself. But I do understand the language better if I get more information, and that's usually coming from other people. It could be in a conversation, but it can usually be from a TV show or a movie or a YouTube video like this, or you read a book or something, but that's where you're getting more information that helps you understand vocabulary better. So you understand the grammar, pronunciation, the culture, whatever it is that you're not quite sure about. The point is to become sure about that example. All right. I think I answered that one. All right, Kirby, now teach someone needs the difference between do verb and make verb. I covered that, I think, in my previous video. Morning from India. Let's see. Jesse says, can I say, scoot over? Yes, I answered that one already. Can I use make room when someone come to my home and say, okay, a room and feel, make room and feel comfortable? Well, you are making room for that person. So you don't tell them to make room, you are making room for that person. So if a guest comes to your house, that's what you're doing. It's not you like telling them to make room, you are making room for them. Habib says, guys, share the video because this great teacher deserves more support. Glad to hear it. Yes, feel free to share the video. All right, how to write for learning English. Do you mean write, like W-R-I-T-E? I would just practice writing, get more examples. I can't read that. Let's see. Olisgar, what means shop and store? Yeah, usually a shop is just a smaller store. So you can imagine like the size of something. So this is another example when people hear something like the question in your mind stops you from using it fluently. So typically when we talk about a shop usually means a smaller business. So maybe you walk into a smaller shop, like this can still be called a store, but you go to like Walmart or something, like a very large place, that's a store. Okay, and this is just the vocabulary for talking about a business that sells things like this. All right, so typically a smaller thing is a shop. It could also be a store, but typically a larger business is just store. All right, but we do use the word like shopping at any place. So I'm going shopping at the shop. I'm going shopping at the store. Okay, it doesn't really matter, and often you will hear natives say both of these things. You might even say like, someone call this a shop, but usually not. All right, so that's just for this example. I mean, I don't want to go into more detail about it, but this is the basic idea. All right. Let's see. I think I got that one. And then what's the difference between? Yes, so what is the difference between? I like very much your classes, says Eber. Glad to hear it. Usually people say that. They might not even understand why, but usually the reason is because I'm helping them understand the language better. All right, Juliet says hi, and Joda says, could you just jump straight on the bed? I just want to know if the mattress is bouncy. Oh my goodness, let's see. Abdullah says, hello, teacher, could you explain the difference between poisonous and poisoning? Well, poisonous is you're talking about the property of something. So if I have a plant or an animal that could poison you, all right, so that is like a poisonous thing, all right? So something is poisonous, like it could, maybe it has poison inside of it. But if I want to talk about like poisoning, that's the act of some poison going into something else, all right? Okay. All right, some nice, good, got it, thank you. We can assimilate easy through your explanation. That's right. Someday I'm going to talk English like you. Yes, that's the goal. Well, we're here to help you do that. Let's see. How to communicate with girls, please tell. I see. Well, typically if you're trying to communicate with women, you can find something interesting to notice about them, or tell a joke or something that you're just getting like an introduction going, something like that. There are probably people more, I guess, appropriate than me to do that. I have not been in the dating scene in a while. But if I'm trying to meet women, typically I begin a conversation just like I would meet anybody, with like noticing something interesting or kind of funny or different, something that would be unexpected. So if I just walk up to someone and say hi, that's going to feel a little bit awkward, because that person will say like, hi. I just told this story, but since somebody's asking about this, it's a good way to begin a conversation. I think I told this story like a couple days ago, but I'll tell it quickly again just because it's a good example of this. But I was at a Starbucks, and so it's another like Starbucks story. There's not a lot of coffee shops here in Nagasaki I can go to. So anyway, I was at a Starbucks, and there were two people. It was in the morning, and it was like a foreign man and woman. So I think they were Americans. I met them later, but they were sitting in my usual seat, or right next to my usual seat. So there were lots of spaces available, lots of room available in the Starbucks, lots of space available. But I wanted to sit in my chair. And so I thought, okay, it's a little bit awkward if I walk up and just sit down there, because I'm sitting right next to this guy's wife, and then he's sitting there, and it's a little weird, just like some random person comes up and sits next to you. So again, this is a coffee shop here in Nagasaki. So they are sitting there, and I get my coffee, and I walk over, and I say, they're making us sit together. And I'm implying that like the Japanese staff is making all the foreigners sit in the same area. So here I'm starting a conversation by making a joke. So I don't walk up and say hi, because they're like, why are you here? But I come up, and I'm not lying, but I'm just making kind of like a funny reason to get some reason why I'm like interrupting them or sitting in their chair. So I wanted to sit in my chair, even if somebody is sitting next to them or like around or next to my chair. And so that's what I said. I said, they're making us sit together. And I was kind of like it was quiet, like they're making us sit together. And the lady said, oh, really? And I said, no, I'm kidding, But anyway, I had a nice conversation with them for about half an hour after that. But I mean, it's the same thing if you're talking to women or whoever the person might be. All right. Where did I get? Let's see. All right, good class from San Diego. My listening is better with you. Thank you. My grammar is awful. Sorry, I'm level B1. Yes, remember, listening will always be better because it's easier to understand than it is to speak. And the reason is just because you still have doubts that stop you from using the language. All right, Wade says, I found most of the time I can't distinguish people saying can and can't unless with context does native speakers have this problem, or do native speakers have this problem? Yeah, sometimes, but typically no, because we are getting some kind of context about that, especially watching people's facial expressions. So if I say, yes, I can, no, I can't. No, I can't. So you can see what I'm talking about even if I don't speak. So it's the same idea. Let's see. Severe's got some heart eyes over there. What's going on, Drew? YouTube recommended only your video. Glad to hear it. Look at that. If it just has like boom, 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 only my videos. Well, the way YouTube works is if you click on something, it will try to give you more of that because it thinks you like that thing. Dan says, Drew, how to differ ear and year sounds. I've learned English, I think, in English, but I still can't differ these sounds or hear the difference between them. I'm from Brazil, by the way. You should get Frederick. Click on the link in the description below this video, and it will give you practice with things like that. So you can close your eyes, listen to the different sounds, and you can see, oh, which one am I listening to? And it will really help you practice with that. So you just need to compare those different sounds, get some training with that, and that will help you do that. Keiko says, good morning, Teacher Drew. What about made up word? By the way, it means, let's see. Actually, I don't know that. I don't know. I know that kanji, but I don't know the like how to read that. my kanji like learning way is different. But if you're just talking about like made up, as in like you created some word or you thought of an idea, that's what you're talking about. Let's see, teacher, I want to follow you live. Well, enjoy just in case. Good name. It's really good to write sentences in English. Yes, but understanding English is even better than that. I hate the question, introduce yourself. Oh, if someone asks you to speak about it. Pato says, what time is it in Japan? Check Google. It'll tell you. You don't need to ask me. Alvaro says, what is the topic about? Look at the title of the video. Mike says, what do you think about learning idioms and slang? It's nice, but it's not necessary to do that. I mean, if you speak every day with young people who use a lot of slang, then it's important to do that. But if you don't, it doesn't really matter. You become a coach of relationships. Yes, kind of. So is there any course about pronunciation on your website? Well, we do have Frederick. Again, click on the link in the description about that. That's specifically learning the sounds of English and how to understand them like a native, but also Fluent for Life helps you, basically gives you the pronunciation that natives use by letting you hear lots of different natives pronounce words. And so that's part of what improves you with Fluent for Life. Reno says, is this correct? I'll make a room in my heart for you. You would say, I'll make room in my heart for you. So remember, if you say, I'll make, like imagine this is your heart. I know your heart really it kind of looks like this or whatever, but imagine this is your heart. If you say, I make a room in my heart, and this is what you mean. All right, but when we're talking about space, I'll make room in my heart for you. Just like I'll make room in my life for you. All right, are you either from U.S. or Canada? I'm from the United States. I'm from Chicago. Osama says speaking is not the same as listening or reading. Speaking is different. Yes, so it's a more difficult skill than listening because even if you don't understand something completely, you don't necessarily, or it doesn't stop you from understanding the general idea of what someone says. But you need to be absolutely correct if you're speaking, all right? Generally, like you should be trying to communicate correctly. All right, let's see. Wow, your coffee shop example is like supermarket parking. Yeah. All right, Abdul says, thanks for your explanation. Let's see, what app do you recommend? Yeah, I mean, we cover everything with Frederick and Fluent for Life. That's why I don't have 1,000 programs or recommend a whole bunch of different apps. I just made what people need to eliminate the doubt that stops them from speaking. Let's see. I don't understand, but I don't speak. What should I do? You should understand better. All right. Can you please explain what is spot? Well, it depends on the situation. Like spot, a spot word? What do you mean by spot word? To spot something means to notice it, but it can also, you can have a physical, like a spot or something like that. All right. How to distinguish between British and American English? You listen to lots of Azogo kana. I'm sorry, but I got it. Azogo to you kana. Okay. I make a room in my heart for new. You say, I make room in my heart. Spot words is so difficult. Yeah, I don't know what a spot word is. You are all-rounder, Drew, and excellent mix of humor and American English. I am Russian, by the way. Glad to hear it. Summer 3. Make room without a. Yes, that's correct. An all-arounder. Sorry, blaming Google. Yes. Yeah, you can say all-rounder or like an all-around something. Another way to say that. All right, let me see if there's another thing I was talking with my kids about. This was for my younger daughter, Noelle. We were talking about the difference between batter and dough. So we were talking about cooking. They were making some pancakes, I think, and we were talking about bread as well. And we were also reading a book that's talking about some cooking. And we were talking about different kinds of things. So what is the difference between batter and dough? So when do we use one versus the other? Now, maybe if you don't cook or you don't care, it doesn't matter, but you know, these are interesting things to understand the difference. So typically batter, when we have like batter like for cake or pancakes or brownies, and then dough is usually more for bread or maybe cookies, pizza. And really the difference is, and this is what I was showing them, batter is usually more like liquid. It's kind of like a water. If you take the bowl and turn the bowl upside down, all the batter will fall out of the bowl. But dough is usually much thicker than that. You could actually take the bowl, turn it upside down, and it doesn't fall out. So when we're making something, usually cake or pancakes, we pour the batter. We call this the pancake batter. We also call it mix. But batter, just so you know that word. We're talking about the pancake batter or brownie batter. Again, it's more like a liquid. And then dough, this is things that are more solid, so you can put it down like a cookie. You would put the cookie down like a cookie shape with the cookie dough. So we talk about cookie dough rather than cookie batter. All right, so if you took some batter and tried to put it down on a plate or something, it would just spread out like that. But dough can keep its shape more easily. All right, so just a little bit of English right here, but again, this is the same kind of thing I'm doing with my own kids when I'm trying to help you learn. So we don't want to just look at one thing. It's much better to help your mind by giving you a fluency trigger that lets you compare different things, okay? So when you think about that, if it's more like water, it's kind of runny, that kind of thing, then we talk about cakes, pancakes, that's batter. And a thicker thing, you could hold it in your hand and drop it or throw it, that's dough. All right, very quick. So just wanted to give you that simple example. And since we're talking about cake, I'll mention one more about this. So we were reading that same book, and we have the word cake free. Cake free, very interesting. Cake free, look at that. Oh, cake free. Now, often when we're talking about something like that, especially little kids, maybe they know the word free by itself. And free has some general meanings, like you're not trapped by something, you can go anywhere, or there's no cost to doing something. So if we combine free with other words like this, then it means, oh, look at that. We don't have that thing. So let's say I have like my hands right now are cake free. They don't have any cake in them, or there's no cake on my hands, all right? So I do have a marker right now. So right now I have a marker, but whoa, now I'm marker free, all right? So very easy. So free, even though people probably know the regular usage, like something is free, so it doesn't cost any money, or I am free, I don't have someone controlling me. We can talk about something not being there if we use this for free. So if we have a symbol on my elbow and it gives me pain every day, but I took some medicine and now I am pain-free, no more pain, okay? So you can think about free as like not having that thing or without that thing. So pain-free, and typically these are used for like a negative thing, like problem-free. Problem-free. Same kind of idea. All right. So I just another thing I was explaining to them, like how we can take a word like free and use it in a slightly different way. All right, so just another quick example for everyone there. I'm trying to keep an eye on the chat, All right. Let's see, I'm from Iraq. How can I raise my level in listening? Well, you just have to listen to easier English and then start improving by increasing the difficulty of the English you listen to. We can learn English without a partner. Yes, that's the whole point of this video. Yes. So if you're watching this video and you're feeling like you're learning more, you understand the language, you understand the language better, and you understand the language in general by understanding pieces of the language better. So you understand vocabulary or grammar or pronunciation. When you feel more confident because you understand, then you speak better. But you're not speaking with me, you're just listening right now. And I'm giving you the fluency triggers that make you feel more confident about the language. Okay, so you don't need to have a practice partner to improve. It's nice to have someone to speak with, but it's not necessary to do that. You spend most of the time, even in your native language, just listening to things or watching videos or whatever. You watch the news and you learn information about, like what's happening in the world. And nobody's speaking like with you. You're just watching people speak. Okay. All right. Yes, another more good examples from people down there. Let's see, what does it mean you made your room in the morning? Well, if I made my room, just like I made my bed, I cleaned it up. I made it looking nice again. Good morning from Pakistan. Eldar, yesterday I saw the video and hear about crimson color. It makes me deep historical investigation. Now I know the king band crimson and never associated the color with nobility. Yeah, so it's interesting as you go deeper into the information, you get more information, you understand it better, you feel more confident understanding about the word crimson. It's a color like deep red. Pato says, the most difficult thing for me after having studied for many years and having lived in the US for 2 years are connectors in English, how to connect different phrases to sound fluent. You should watch, if you search my channel for that, I've talked about that specific idea. How can I improve my English language? You just understand it better. That's the basic idea. Omar says, so I will wait until you make a video for introducing ourselves. Well, introducing yourself for what though? I mean, in general, people are too worried about trying to talk about themselves. So that's why usually when I meet other people, I try to talk about them. So I notice something about that person. And so the focus is not on me, I'm talking to the other person. So very rarely would I just come up to someone and say, hey, my name is this and I like football or whatever. I would probably not do that. I would walk up to someone and notice something about them. Okay, so that's how I get the conversation started. And it's the same thing if I'm trying to meet people online or whatever. I talk about the other person. It's not about me. And then if they ask, I start talking with them, then I can introduce myself. But it's much more relaxing and comfortable to do it that way. So find something interesting about the other person to notice or something about the situation or something like that. And it's much easier to start the conversation that way. Let's see. All right. It is easy, says Kirby. SL says, why there are no pronunciation marks in subtitles of your videos? Again, Google just creates those automatically. So it's not it's not trying to put in punctuation. It might not understand exactly when to do that. Maybe it will improve their pronunciation to do that with transcription, but it's not there yet. How to become you would say how to become an ESL professional. I don't know. So I wouldn't even call myself an ESL professional. I don't really help people learn English as a second language. But if you want to learn more, I'm sure you can look that up online, and it might depend on the job you want to get. Like if you want to work at a school or something, maybe you need a certification or a degree or something. Randall says, is this correct? Someone asked, do you have a pen? I say back, I'm pen free. Yes, you could say that. you could kind of make a joke like that. Like, sorry, I'm pen free. I'm pen free. But it'd be more, it's just better, depending on the person or the situation, to say, no, I don't have a pen. But yes, you could jokingly say, I'm pen free. Joe says, Professor Drew, I want some advice from you. Many of my friends have told me that I'm already fluent in English, but me and myself, I know that I'm still struggling in speaking English. It just means you still have doubts about things. So get specific about what you are nervous or worried or concerned or have questions about. And whatever that is, it could be grammar or pronunciation or something. If there's a certain word that maybe you want to use or a certain situation and you don't know how to express that, just learn how to do it, and that will make you feel more confident. So the understanding is what gives you the confidence to speak. But yes, typically people will be more polite and kind. So even if you feel that that you are not 100%, or where you want to be, or you're still unsatisfied, then you should, for yourself, you should solve that problem. Abdullah, could you show us your May live stream schedule? For May, it should be the same thing, like Mondays and Thursdays generally. If I'm not here, it's either I'm sick or I had to do something else or whatever. But generally, it's Mondays and Thursdays. So right now, it is Thursday morning in Japan time. All right, every day I'm carefree. Yes, the woman's accessory marketing slogan. Yes. Let's see. Dan says, I didn't know about batter. Good to know that. Yes. And so now you can take something like batter and you can learn some like interesting uses for that. All right. There's a, let's see, there's a sweat sick on your forehead. You're talking about, actually, I feel pretty good. Maybe I'm a little bit sweaty, but it's okay. Yo, Drew, what's up, bro? Says Alejandro. Let's see. Detrecklin says, sir, I've always been wondering and curious about how natives call my real name because it's so rare. Could you please say it? It's Mamoon? Oh, is that how you say it? I don't know how to say that, though. English is as easy as you think it is. Yeah, that's true. I am money free. Oh, no, Enrique, we need to get you some money over there. Salah says, is it me in my friend or I and my friend grammatically? Well, if you're talking about someone giving you something, like someone gave, well, the easiest way to explain it is like remove your friend from the sentence. So someone gave me. So someone gave me this marker. Someone gave me. So like here's a hand like, oh, thank you. Someone gave me this marker. So I wouldn't say someone gave I this marker. So if you're talking about someone gave my friend and me something, or you could say my friend and I are doing something. So it's the same way it would work if it's just you by yourself. Let's see, sir, it's a good idea to keep reading for a couple weeks. Okay. All right, Professor Drew, I already mastered the basics in speaking, but the longer the conversation went, the harder it becomes for me. I want advice on how to next one, but I'm feeling stuck in this level. Then you're probably, I don't understand your question. It sounds like you have trouble with longer sentences. Is that what you mean? Or do you mean like as the conversation goes longer? What do you mean exactly? Let me know. Let's see. Omar says, do you prefer immigrating to learn English language or learning in the country of origin? I mean, maybe there's no need. Yes. So remember, you don't need to speak with anyone to improve. You just need to remove the doubt that stops you from speaking. So you don't have to live anywhere special. You don't need to be in an English-speaking country. You don't even need to have a practice partner. You just need to have someone, or you by yourself, find ways to eliminate the doubt that stops you from speaking. That's it. So when you do speak, you should feel confident. It's like me. I spend most of my day, even living in Japan, I don't talk all day. I'm either listening to something or reading or doing some work or something like that, but I'm not spending all my day talking with people in Japanese. But I can listen a lot. Like I can listen to Japanese or read a book in Japanese or something like that to help me improve. And that will help me remove the doubt that stops me from speaking. So that when I do have a situation where I can talk with someone, then the language just comes out. Let's see, great example of prefixes. It's like the word less in chordless. Yes. Yeah. Where are you from? So I answered that already. Chicago. How to use a comma correctly. You guys are amazing. Let's see. Good morning, Drew. I'm going to make a coffee and watch this live. All right. And if you are watching later, you can always come back and watch it. Just watch the replay. Teacher, which day are you always live? Typically, again, Mondays and Thursdays, Japan time. Lester says, why do English speakers use too many phrasal verbs? Is that better than regular verbs? Is that your thoughts, or what are your thoughts about this? Yeah, it's just a more conversational way of saying things, and phrasal verbs allow you to express a lot of complicated ideas in very simple ways. So that's why I have a whole program about phrasal verbs that's found in Fluent for Life. Sir, you had made a lot of videos about how to get fluent. Yes. Thank you, teacher. How to use present continuous for future planning with going to. Watch my video. I think I have videos about that. So typically any questions like this about specific grammar or whatever, I've made videos about this already. Last example I'll give you for today. We've been going for 75 minutes. Let me get a drink out of my massive, like warhead bottle over here. All right, this last example was from a recent, I was helping a woman translate some Japanese, and she was saying his body was covered in sores. And when I was reading that, excuse me, I'll put a capital there. So his body was covered in sores. And when I read that, I thought, you know, covered with is more appropriate than covered in for this example. But why? All right, so I was trying to explain to her about the difference here. So his body was covered in sores. Let me draw a picture so you can understand what this is. You can imagine here's a person, kind of looks like a ghost almost. It's like a hand actually, what we're imagining. So here's a person, and a sore, like I might have like kind of a cut or something like that on my body somewhere. So we imagine he's got these little sores, like open kind of cuts or holes or something, some irritation on his body. But there are many of them. And so I was explaining in this situation, we would say covered with, because there's the body and then you just kind of add these things on top of it. Okay, so I mean, obviously the sore is part of the body, but we're talking about like covered with, as in it's just kind of like partially covering the body. All right, so if we want to talk about like covered in, the slightly different nuance here for covered in, like this person is covered in skin. Okay, so covered in skin, like it's actually taking up the whole body. Or if we talk about like covered in paint. So if someone is covered in paint, it's really like taking up all of the space rather than just kind of little parts of it like that. So if someone is covered with something, like I might be covered like with a blanket. All right, so it's not really covering my whole body, it's just covering part of me. So I'm being covered a little bit, like covered with something. All right, so it's kind of like some separate thing that's on top of me in some way, and so I'm covered in that thing. But if I take my hand and like dip my whole arm into a bucket of paint, my arm is covered in paint. So it's like a whole thing on top of me. There are no spaces there to talk about covering me in paint. So I might be covered in paint, but covered with sores, something like that. All right, so this is not always like this, like the grammar doesn't, or this, like this phrasal verb doesn't always work exactly like this, but that's the general idea. So when I was explaining to her about covered in sores, that would really mean you're like, wow, you have like a lot. Like there's like no space at all for sores. So if you're covered in sores, it would probably mean there are way more and you really can't even see regular skin. It just like looks like one big burn or sore mark on you. So this is just one other example from earlier this week where I was helping a woman translate some Japanese, and then I was explaining to her this. All right. Again, we're trying to use a fluency trigger to help you understand by comparing different things. So we don't understand more by just repeating covered in, covered in, covered in. We want to understand, oh, what's the difference here between covered in and covered with? All right. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. Let's see. Hopefully, all right. Is this the end of the live? It's almost the end of the live because we've gone to 80 minutes now. Oh my goodness, it's almost 11 o'clock. There are many foreign people in my town. They all speak very good Japanese. Ah, well, that's nice. Reno says, LOL is a OMG. What should I do when I reach vocabulary poverty? Because it happened every time when my conversations... Ah, you mean like... You lose your words when you speak? Is that what you mean? It just means you don't know English as well as you think you do. And you should be spending more time watching natives talking about things and getting examples of how they speak. So if I listen to some Japanese and I learn some examples like, oh, that's interesting, people say this in this situation. All right, so I'm getting examples of different ways to respond, and that way I always have something to say. So I don't really run out of words when I'm in a Japanese conversation, because if I forget something, I just use something else. I call this moving like water. So I don't just stop because I forget one word, I switch to something different. So the more examples you get, the better you understand English, the more confident you will speak. Let's see. Saw you on Thursday morning. Yes, Vincent is in yes. What are you driving down to? I don't know what that means. What is the difference between in and on? Well, usually in is like in something and on is on top of it, typically. All right, Eternal says, I start well when speaking English, but I cannot continue the dialogue after the other person speaks. How can I solve this problem? Yeah, the same thing. You just need to get more examples that help you understand the language better. That's it. All right, that's the answer to really every problem about speaking. So if you understand the language better, you will feel more confident about speaking. When to add S and ES at the end, present indefinite. Present indefinite. You mean in present indefinite tense when we speak fast? Yeah, you're answering like. You're asking me like 20 different questions at the same time. And this is a big problem for people learning. They're like, tell me about this, tell me about that, tell me about this other thing. And I say, well, why don't you focus on one thing, really understand that well, and then move to the next thing you want to learn. So pick one thing, really understand that well, and then you should be a much better speaker. Swords can't cover your body completely like hiding it. Yes, so that's part of the difference there. So what's the difference between get on and get in? So you're, again, it depends on the situation. You could be getting on a bus, but you're still like getting in the bus in that way. But typically get in is like to be inside something rather than on top of it, like riding it. There's a pronunciation course on your website. Is it a video or a live class? Well, we have an app that will teach you and basically lets you teach yourself how to pronounce English like a native. So that's an app, and Fluent for Life is there as well. That covers everything, though. Is reading stories, you would say, can reading stories help us speak? Yes, if those stories are understandable and you feel more confident about speaking because of that. So the answer to every question is, does it eliminate my doubt? So people say, should I listen to a podcast, or should I read a book, or should I watch a video, or should I do this or that or whatever? You can do all of those things. All of those things can bring you to the same place, but all of them can also not bring you to that place. So you might listen to something or watch like a YouTube video that teaches some English but doesn't help you understand the language better. Just because you are listening to English doesn't mean you feel more confident about it. So you have to be smart about that, and you have to think about where you are struggling. So what are the doubts specifically that you have, if it's vocabulary or pronunciation or whatever, and as you solve those doubts, you will feel more confident speaking. That's the idea. All right, hello, I'm late, says Music for Life. Keiko, what's the difference between angry with me and angry at me? That's another, I don't really want to get into the details about that. We're getting to the end of this video. But generally people would use both of those in the same way. I could actually say both of those and they would mean it like my wife is angry with me for doing something and my wife is angry at me for doing something. It's just, it's like the nuance is so subtle it doesn't even make a difference for that sentence. Let's see, one day English will be coming out of my mouth. Yes, as you understand better, it will come out naturally. What are you drinking down, teacher? Okay, this is mint water. I just put some mint leaves in the water. I would pick English speaking. What's the meaning of the word discussion? Google that. Do I use English to my language dictionary? English and Japanese? English. Well, ideally, you're using an English to English dictionary if you can understand the words. How to improve pronunciation. Again, click on the links in the description. There are basically two things you need to learn. The first is the individual sounds of English, so you know what. Maybe you can pronounce some words, but you can't pronounce other words. So the app will teach you, it will take you through all of the pronunciation levels and help you understand pronunciation like a native. Okay. The second part is hearing lots of examples of different natives speaking, because you will have in real life lots of different people who speak. And so you need to be prepared to listen to them and follow them and understand what they're saying. All right. Thanks. You have to end this live now. Well, I am ending this live. But yes, it's been 85 minutes and I'm going to take my time, enjoy my day. I have some more work to do, but hopefully you get the idea. So just to wrap this up, when people are learning things, the basic idea is you can understand some of the language, but not a lot of it. All right. And so wherever there's a disconnect there, wherever there's a doubt or something, that's what will stop you from speaking. So all the people, like if you look at the chat, it's all questions of people that those questions are what stop them from speaking about that thing. So if you have a question like, should I say this word or that word? That question will stop you from speaking. But if you get the answer to that question, that's why people ask questions. You know, they want to eliminate the doubt and understand the language better. But rather than go through a bunch more examples, if you'd like to do this, like we cover all this, you know, the kinds of things people are asking about. These are all things we cover in Fluent for Life, as well as other videos that we have on this channel. But if you have any questions, you can feel free to post them in the comments section below this or visit us at EnglishAnyone.com. Again, if you'd like to learn more about how to speak fluently by eliminating the doubt you have, just click on the link in this description below the video for Fluent for Life, and then learn more about Frederick as well. All right, have a excellent day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.